Please give her a warm welcome.
How's everyone? What a great start to the day. Really just a great insights from Mandy and the mayor already. So I have a feeling that this is the start of something very special and that this is going to be really impactful for Reno and for this community. So I'm so happy to be here. It's my second time in Reno and just love the energy and what's happening here. So thanks for having me. And Mandy, really appreciate you inviting me to speak. It was about 9 months ago, Mandy called and said, I have this big idea, Barb, and I want you to be a part of it. And so I was humbled and said, Mandy, I'll be there. I'll be there to help you. We've had a great relationship for 10 years. She asked me to speak on the importance of being successful in your career and in your life. I asked her if the meaning of life was already taken, right? That's pretty broad topic to throw at me, Mandy, but I'm going to give it my best. I think I'm qualified because I've had ebbs and flows in my career and personal life in terms of balance, and I want to talk a little bit about that. And so I have seen the power of being successful in your career on the positive side, as well as had some challenges along the way and some trade-offs that I want to talk about. So I think what I'm going to share is going to build on some of the things that have already been discussed today. So really I have 3 key points that I'll go over in the agenda. It's really this idea of work-life balance or imbalance and work-life integration. I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about life choice and how you define success in life. It's very personal, and I want to talk a little bit more about how I chose to really think about my life plan, both integration from a work and a life perspective overall. And then we've got a fun TED Talk that I want to share with you as well. So work-life imbalance. Work-life balance is a myth, right? Anyone got it all figured out? Because if so, you can come up and join me. No, okay. And again, it's very personal. I think that work-life balance depends on the day and the week and the month. Last week, for an example, I had a board meeting at Lazy Boy. I left on Sunday. I came back Tuesday night. I knew my daughter had a couple events because the school year's winding down and the teachers like to pack it all in. So I made time to figure out how am I going to go to her field trip. And it was so great to spend an afternoon with her after being away. So having that ability to really manage my time and making that choice was powerful for me. And we all have to make those trade-offs from time to time. We had a big acquisition in the UK in September, and I missed the first day of kindergarten, and it was a bummer. I was really disappointed, but I know I had to make that trade-off in terms of the role I'm in. So I try to figure out how do I make that up in different ways, right, for myself. And so really what I want to share with you is the life you live and the choices that you make are always going to be a trade-off. One week is always going to be different than another, but having that life choice and being okay with that is really what's really vital and important in defining success in your own way. So before I go on to the next slide, I wanted to just ask a little bit, turning to the company side. So all of you work for some great companies and organizations out there. So what are your companies doing to help with work-life integration? What are they doing from a policy or a practice standpoint that's really working for you now and supporting this whole idea of work-life integration? Anything stand out? Go ahead. That's great. Yeah, please. Yeah, that's important. You're here today, right?
That was my point.
Yes.
Some of the leadership here.
Yeah, so a day to really focus on yourself and to have some impact and pause from the day to day. A way to start the week, right? What a great way to start a Monday. An investment in yourself. So that's a great tool for work-life integration, putting it all together. Over here.
We've implemented a mindfulness program to help people become more mindfulness and actually putting that in our day-to-day work and anything from meditation rooms to actually being that part of their commitments.
Fantastic. Meditation, mindfulness. So we have a couple more topics today that we're going to talk about, and I'm a big believer in mindfulness. I've recently started to meditate. I'm no expert, but what I found, it's really giving me clarity of purpose and what's more important in keeping me grounded and anchored. So that's terrific. Anything else standing out?
Flexible schedules.
Flexible schedules, right? So that ability to have a little bit of flex time and integrate your work and life, doctor's appointments, aging parents, kids' activities.
Lazy Boy, our wellness program.
Wellness.
Everybody should take care of themselves, but, to have the information fed from your leadership, about, simple as recipes to certain exercises, and then connect that to our health insurance and our program, that, there's a discount if you keep yourself healthy, which is some incentive there.
Great, yeah. So having wellness programs connected, even financial wellness programs, because obviously financial wellness can be a stressor in a life. And mind, body, spirit, turns out it's all connected, right? And so being able to have that integration is important. Anything else? Over here.
We also have a really good campaign that we do once a year where employees get to get involved with the community and give back to communities, get involved with local areas and set up events, just bring awareness and do some volunteer and community work.
And how does that make you feel?
More in tune with your values, right? More centered as a person when you get to focus some of your time and skills and efforts on things that mean something to you on a broader scale.
Great, so perspective.
Right.
Fantastic. Community event days. There was one other hand.
I'm from a much smaller company than a lot of you, but my company opened a new office. And something that they encourage all the partners to do is invite all of our associates to come work out. So I take our associates kayaking.
Fantastic.
I take them swimming.
Any open jobs? Just kidding, Lazy Boy team. I'm not gonna leave you. That's great. So a lot of great things happening, and I put a list together. Lazy Boy, we strive to do. We have the intent and the real focus on trying to improve work-life integration. But I'll be honest, we're not there yet. No, I don't think any company is there yet. But we do have a few of these offerings, and I think some great examples in the room. It's really about overall engagement and making sure you're in tune with your employees and their needs. It's about change management and making sure that employees are in on things that impact them. Allie mentioned flexible scheduling, breaks through the day, mindfulness, meditation. That is all the rage, and I'm really glad we're going to talk about that today. Live Life Well is our Lazy Boy program. And community activation, so important to make sure that you pause and give back to the community and talk about a way to really galvanize support around your company and what your company stands for and the values of your company and your personal values. I've got a logo here for Ronald McDonald House Charities because that is an organization that Lazy Boy is the sponsor of. So we sponsor all of the furniture in all of the Ronald McDonald's homes globally. And it's a way for us to give back and connect with Ronald McDonald House and their mission of providing families in need comfort, especially with many of the circumstances that they're going through. So we actually go to the Ronald McDonald House quite often, and we serve meals to these families and talk about impact that it has on the employees and for teamwork, and just pausing and having some gratitude about your life and making sure you're giving back. Promoting access to fitness, nutrition, the meditation rooms, encouraging people to take a vacation. I have a few members of my team that I have to say, you haven't taken vacation. Please take your vacation. You need it. It's not a badge of honor anymore to say, I worked 80 hours every week, right? It's making sure that people need their time away. And then being a good role model for others. I try to be a good role model for my team and employ that work-life integration that I talked about. But there's things I can do to work on and make sure that I've got broader support and making sure our senior team gives that example. It starts at the top in the leadership tone. But you can have all these programs. If you don't utilize them as an employee, then they're no good. A good example for me is we've got a beautiful walking trail. I've been on it 12 times. I need to get on that walking trail more, whether it's connecting with people and ensuring that I'm taking advantage of the meditation room or the trail. So making time in my life to actually take advantage of it. The programs are only as good as you make them, is my point. So some great ambassadors to work-life integration that I thought I'd share with you. On your left is Indra Nooyi. She is the CEO of PepsiCo. So Allie mentioned I spent nearly 15 years at PepsiCo. Indra Nooyi has admitted with humility that she's not always been the best at work-life integration. She will send letters to the people that work for her, to their families, their children, their parents, to say, I'm grateful for your son or daughter and their leadership and what they've provided. She sponsored and created a program called One Simple Thing. And the concept of One Simple Thing is, what is one thing that I can do for you to help you have better work-life integration? So an example, I had an employee that worked for me. He was a safety manager, and I said, Dave, what's the one simple thing I can do to help you? And he said, I want to coach Pee Wee football for my son. I've got a busy job. I'm traveling a lot. It doesn't require me to take every Friday off, Barb, but what I need is during the 3 months of the fall when I'm coaching, I want to come in a little bit early so I can leave at 4 and make sure that I'll get back online to check anything to make sure anything's going on later. But I just want that ability to coach, and that's really important to me. And we made it happen. It wasn't the old school 8 to 5, he needs to work and be here. There's just too much integration in today's world with technology and with the requirements of many of our roles. So I'm really who I am today and a lot of my corporate beliefs because of the examples that were set by PepsiCo. On the right, Sheryl Sandberg, I'm sure everyone is familiar with the Chief Operating Officer of Facebook. The work that she's done around progressive policy and practice inside of Facebook and setting an example, but also as recently as this weekend, setting legislation around, helping set legislation around Mother's Day and policy to make sure that we have more contemporary leave policies and more contemporary ways of thinking about how we integrate work and life. So setting a tone more broadly for corporate America. So really two impressive role models when I think about women's leadership that are setting a tone to help with work-life integration. Any other examples come to mind around great role models? Okay, I'm sure there's many others out there. So let's switch gears and talk about life choice. Mandy mentioned life choice and making a personal choice and determining success based on what is successful for you, not what's successful for society. So by show of hands, who in here has a will? Great, love to see it. So a lot of people have a will. Who has a life plan written out? So a smaller percent. So the homework for all of you is if you don't have a will, make sure you put that on your to-do list. Really important in terms of financial awareness and just making sure you're prepared should something happen. But life plan, it sets your course for where you want to be and where you're going. Alice in Wonderland quote, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. Really important to think about what is my mission, what do I want to do? Mandy gave a great example. She worked for all these terrific companies, was in the corporate world, and said, I want to move home to Reno. I want to do something that is going to have the same type of impact I was having, but maybe work on a little bit more than some of the boring stuff we have to deal with in HR lives from time to time. So it's really important to think about what's my mission, what are my values, is it lined up with what I'm doing every day? And how do I make sure my work-life plan is integrated? So really think about how you put that on your list. I have a video here that talks about life choice. It's a quick video that really instills the idea of rowing your own boat in life choice. So let's roll the tape.
Roll, roll, roll your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Yo, guys, this might be the deepest song in the history of songs. Roll your boat. What is the boat? This body, this life form. Are we not 75% water, rowing every time we walk? The song says, roll your boat. Take control of your life. You are the captain of your ship. Stop worrying about somebody else's boat. Don't take their paddles from them and try to row for them. You can give them direction, show them technique, but they have to row their own boat, and you have to row yours. Gently down the stream, gently. Not forcefully, not fighting against the current, but going with the flow. You heard that phrase before? Go with the flow of life. Because when you argue with reality, you lose. So flow gently down the stream of consciousness. Merrily, 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 merrily. Not struggling. Not seriously, serious. No. Stop walking around like you got a finger stuck up your butt hole. Smile. The number one cause of death is stress. And what is stress? How you're interpreting what's happening to you. Scientists have proven that in your brain, there is no difference between anxiety and excitement. The only difference is how you're interpreting what's happening. Shakespeare said a tragedy is a comedy misunderstood. It is all about interpretation. Be happy. Harvard researcher Sean Aker says that 75% of job and school success is predicted by optimism levels. Not only are optimists physically healthier, but they recover more quickly from illness and live longer. Because life is but a dream. Ooh, are you talking about Inception? I mean, is this a dream? Are we dreaming right now? As we go to sleep tonight, does this world of our strong ideas, passions, and loved ones not effortlessly disappear? Replaced with others? See, all the ancient sages and gurus said the same thing. This is a dream, a passing dream. And it is your duty to wake up to the truth that you are powerful and you choose how you see life. Every morning when you wake up, you can either say, "Good morning, God," or "Good God, morning." Peace.
I love his passion. I love his message of choice, waking up to life, having a life plan, and deciding what's most important, and making sure your mission and your vision is aligned with your goals. So really inspiring video. I encourage you to share that with your friends. So now I want to tell you a little bit about my plan, and much like Mandy did. In 2008, I went to this class. It was a 5-day, really intensive self-awareness leadership class. I was in a big role in New York at Pepsi, leading talent acquisition, loved the job, and realized that some of the things that I wanted to do weren't necessarily in line with how I was spending my time. And I knew what I wanted to do was get to that next step to be a VP in the field role. The challenge was that whole integration with life. I was a newlywed, so for the first time, I had to align my goals with a spouse and figure out, okay, how do we make this work more broadly with my husband, Don, and his career? And then how do I figure out how I get to that next role? Fortunately, a couple years later, I got to go to that role. I got to move home to Michigan, where I'm from, and get this VP job, and really learned a lot about leadership. The theme was that I wanted to be a broader leader, and had some really tough assignments and work to do. It was a time where the business wasn't doing so well. We had to really control costs, and then I had to close down an office and move our office and consolidate it in Chicago. And the cool thing about being home was I had my 5 brothers, my parents who were aging, and it was just, it was nice to be home, but all of a sudden my plan kind of went awry in that I was forced to, or I made the choice to, go over to Chicago. I was 8 months pregnant, but I got a role that was double in size, so professionally it was exciting. I learned a lot, and I figured this is the choice I'm going to make. I'm going to figure out a way to make it work personally, and that I'm going to make sure that I go home and spend the time with my family when I need to, and I'm going to do this job to the best of my ability. And then a couple years ago after that, my dad passed away. So my mom, who's in her late 80s, was home in Michigan, and I was going to have to go to New York for my next job at PepsiCo. And I really didn't want to do that because I figured it was important to be at home and take care of my mom. It's what my dad would want. And although Pepsi was great to me, loved Pepsi, still love Pepsi today. Shout out to Erica and Lauren who are here, two great female role models and examples. I said, it's time for me to make another life choice, and I'm going to have to leave a company I love. And I had this opportunity at Lazy Boy. And what that gave me was an opportunity to practice a different type of HR, more transformational HR, helping the organization take some talented leaders and help provide a stronger culture. And so although that choice was tough, and it required more than just looking at the career and the professional life, I've been able to do some incredible things in the last 2 years at Lazy Boy. And here's some fun pictures. So you see I'm palling around with Ronald McDonald there. I got to go to Hong Kong. We opened a new global trading office. There I am in Vietnam touring some of our plants at the beginning of the year. In Anaheim, we won some National Safety Council 8 awards for having a best-in-class safety program. So the work plan, it created adjustment. I thought I was going to be at Pepsi forever. It created some adjustments for me in my personal and work life, but I made that choice, and I'm really, really glad I made that choice. And on the work side, some of the other things we've worked on at Lazy Boy that I'm proud of is creating our work mission in HR. So that's about creating the best employee experience to attract, develop, and retain talented leaders, and to make sure we're doing that through rapidly changing furniture industry. I just saw online this morning that Amazon is ready to take on the furniture industry, so there's some big challenge for us there with making sure that we're ahead of the page and making sure we're doing the right things to keep Lazy Boy at the forefront. And that requires a strong people strategy. So we've rolled out a strategic HR framework. We've rolled out our employer brand, which is Build Something Amazing, that's been authored by our employees at Lazy Boy, both in our retail space and our manufacturing environment. Our Bravo is our reward and recognition program, so that's about strong engagement and making sure employees feel good about working for the company. And then we really anchored our mission, vision, values. So we call it IC4. It's about acting with integrity first, driving change, being committed to the organization, stay connected, and think customer. It's the heart of everything we do. And we created a leadership model to really anchor our leaders in terms of what is success. We didn't have a leadership model before, so now we recognize people for the right leadership values regardless of whether they're an individual contributor or a senior leader. And so I'm proud that we have this foundation, that it's helping us create a vision and a plan for Lazy Boy and making sure that we're moving our culture in the right direction. So transformational HR to really make a difference. So here's the life plan, and these two slides could be integrated, right? Because it all comes together. In 2008, I was a newlywed, right, figuring out how Don and I create our chart and our course. We struggled to have our daughter Ella. It took us a while to get pregnant. The good news is that happened in 2011. We had Ella. She's going to be 6 next week. So she's been a joy in our lives. There's a picture of Don and Ella on Halloween, My Little Pony, for those of you that have little girls. I can't wait till this phase is over. And there's Ella down there in the bottom corner, just being a normal 5-year-old. She helps keep me grounded, right? And she really help me understand what the importance of my life is and the contributions I can make. And the common thread is helping her be the best by being the best parent I can be, but also it's about helping my HR team and our leaders at Lazy Boy be even better. So just taking really talented people and helping create inspiration and giving them that confidence that they hadn't always had. And that's really what drives me, both in life and in work and in that integration. There I am with Sparty. So Mandy mentioned I'm a proud Spartan. One of those things that I created in my mission was giving back to my university. So going to university, I'm on the board for the School of HR. I'm trying to help those recent grads figure out how do they not make the same mistakes that I made and skin their knees, and how do I help give back so they start their career with a bang, and how do I help them along the way even in the bad days. That's what fuels me, and that's what fires me, and that is my fire in the belly and my mission and my core of what I do both personally and professionally. And so this is a little bit about what I was just sharing. This is mission and impact. Here's some folks in my life that I've coached and helped give that little bit of that extra edge of confidence. And I hope one day I work for one of these folks. That's the pride that I have in terms of really helping people reach their potential and helping make sure that they have the confidence to meet their full potential and have chart their own course in their own life plan. Some people on this chart have said, gosh, Barb, I've been with Pepsi, but it's time for me to leave and go somewhere else, and I've supported that when I was with Pepsi. DJ up in the right corner is now an SVP at GE, so he's done quite well. Another example is Monica in the top left corner. Monica made a choice that she wanted to stay in Fargo, North Dakota. So how could we help Monica develop? I helped expand her role, and she took the ball and ran with it and did a fantastic job of taking on more responsibility, and that was her life choice. And so I'm really proud of all of these examples and many more, and it's really helped me with my mission and values and stay anchored in what I like to do. So that may not be your mission. I encourage you all to find your mission and what drives you and helps you give back. And it's just an example that I have for all of you in terms of what drives me and what really helps me from a daily perspective. So I think we have one other leadership video that I would like to share. It's about a 6-minute TED Talk.
I want to start by asking everyone in the audience here a question. How many of you are completely comfortable with calling yourselves a leader? See, I've asked that question all the way across the country, and everywhere I ask it, no matter where, there's always a huge portion of the audience that won't put up their hand. And I've come to realize that we have made leadership into something bigger than us. We made it into something beyond us. We made it about changing the world. And we've taken this title of leader, and we treat it as if it's something that one day we're going to deserve. But to give it to ourselves right now means a level of arrogance or cockiness that we're not comfortable with. And I worry sometimes that we spend so much time celebrating amazing things that hardly anybody can do that we've convinced ourselves that those are the only things we're celebrating. And we start to devalue the things that we can do every day. And we start to take moments where we truly are a leader, and we don't let ourselves take credit for it, and we don't let ourselves feel good about it. And I've been lucky enough over the last 10 years to work with some amazing people who have helped me redefine leadership in a way that I think has made me happier. And with my short time today, I just want to share with you the one story that is probably most responsible for that redefinition. I went to a school in a little school called Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick. And on my last day there, a girl came up to me and she said, I remember the first time that I met you. And then she told me a story that happened 4 years earlier. She said, on my day before I started university, I was in the hotel room with my mom and my dad, and I was so scared and so convinced that I couldn't do this, that I wasn't ready for university, that I just burst into tears. And my mom and my dad were amazing. They were like, look, we know you're scared, but let's just go tomorrow. Let's go to the first day, and if at any point you feel as if you can't do this, that's fine. Just tell us, we will take you home. We love you no matter what. And she said, so I went the next day, and I was standing in line getting ready for registration, and I looked around, and I just knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't ready. I knew I had to quit. And she says, I made that decision, and as soon as I made it, there was this incredible feeling of peace that came over me. And I turned to my mom and my dad to tell them that we needed to go home. And just at that moment, you came out of the student union building wearing the stupidest hat I have ever seen in my life. It was awesome. And you had a big sign promoting Shinorama, which is Students Fighting Cystic Fibrosis, a charity I've worked with for years. And you had a bucket full of lollipops. And you were walking along, and you were handing the lollipops out to people in line and talking about Shinorama. And all of a sudden, you got to me, and you just stopped, and you stared. It was creepy. This girl right here knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then you looked at the guy next to me, and you smiled, and you reached in your bucket, you pulled out a lollipop, and you held it out to him. And you said, you need to give a lollipop to the beautiful woman standing next to you. And she said, I have never seen anyone get more embarrassed faster in my life. He turned beet red, and he wouldn't even look at me. He just kind of held the lollipop out like this. And I felt so bad for this dude that I took the lollipop. And as soon as I did, you got this incredibly severe look on your face, and you looked at my mom and my dad, and you said, look at that. Look at that. First day away from home, and already she's taking candy from a stranger. And she said everybody lost it. 20 feet in every direction, everyone started to howl. And I know this is cheesy, and I don't know why I'm telling you this. But in that moment when everyone was laughing, I knew that I shouldn't quit. I knew that I was where I was supposed to be, and I knew that I was home. And I haven't spoken to you once in the 4 years since that day, but I heard that you were leaving. And I had to come up and tell you that you've been an incredibly important person in my life, and I'm gonna miss you. Good luck. And she walks away, and I'm flattened. And she gets about 6 feet away, she turns around and smiles and goes, you should probably know this too. I'm still dating that guy 4 years later. A year and a half after I moved to Toronto, I got an invitation to their wedding. Here's the kicker, I don't remember that. I have no recollection of that moment, and I've searched my memory banks because that is funny, and I should remember doing it, and I don't remember it. And that was such an eye-opening, transformative moment for me to think that maybe the biggest impact I'd ever had on anyone's life, a moment that had a woman walk up to a stranger 4 years later and say, you've been an incredibly important person in my life, was a moment that I didn't even remember. How many of you guys have a lollipop moment, a moment where someone said something or did something that you feel fundamentally made your life better? All right. How many of you have told that person they did it? See, why not? We celebrate birthdays where all you have to do is not die for 365 days. And yet we let people who have made our lives better walk around without knowing it. And every single one of you has been the catalyst for a lollipop moment. You have made someone's life better by something that you said or that you did. And if you think you haven't, think about all the hands that didn't go back up when I asked that question. You're just one of the people who hasn't been told. But it is so scary to think of ourselves as that powerful. It can be frightening to think that we can matter that much to other people. Because as long as we make leadership something bigger than us, as long as we keep leadership something beyond us, as long as we make it about changing the world, we give ourselves an excuse not to expect it every day from ourselves and from each other. Marianne Williamson said, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that frightens us. And my call to action today is that we need to get over that. We need to get over our fear of how extraordinarily powerful we can be in each other's lives. We need to get over it so we can move beyond it. And our little brothers and our little sisters, and one day our kids, or our kids right now, can watch us start to value the impact we can have on each other's lives more than money and power and titles and influence. We need to redefine leadership as being about lollipop moments. How many of them we create, how many of them we acknowledge, how many of them we pay forward, and how many of them we say thank you for. Because we've made leadership about changing the world, and there is no world. There's only 6 billion understandings of it. And if you change one person's understanding of it, one person's understanding of what they're capable of, one person's understanding of how much people care about them, one person's understanding of how powerful an agent for change they can be in this world, you've changed the whole thing. And if we can understand leadership like that, I think if we can redefine leadership like that, I think we can change everything. And it's a simple idea, but I don't think it's a small one. And I want to thank you all so much for letting me share it with you today.
It's funny. It's great. Really impactful message. So I think the takeaway is don't underestimate the power you can have and the impact you can have on people. Don't underestimate the impact that you can have on people. I have a quote here that I want to read to you that is from the president of High Point University. He's on the Lazy Boy board, and he recently wrote a book, and one of the quotes in his book, it's kind of a 365 day a year quotes that require or create inspiration, rather. When you identify something you do well, that you enjoy doing, and that supports the values that are important to you, you have defined success in your own terms. So my call to action for all of you is, first of all, get a will if you don't. More importantly than that, get a life plan to chart what your mission, values, and life choices are. And then recognize your value and passion and what you want to do to contribute at a higher level, and then lead your life in that way. It's been a pleasure talking with you today. Thanks so much for listening.